I think it's time that WWE brings back a title that has been retired for over 20 years. And if you guys clicked on this video, I'm sure you guys already know that I'm talking about the European Championship. The title has a pretty interesting history, and there's a lot I think they could do with it in the common era. Now, before we get into the video, if you guys enjoy professional wrestling content, or you've watched any of my videos in the past and you just maybe forgot, make sure to hit that subscription button. Make sure to ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the future videos. And let's talk about the European Championship. Interestingly enough, the European Championship only lasted 5 years in the WWE. The way the first champion was crowned is they held an inaugural tournament in Germany, and the eventual winner, the British Bulldog, beat Owen Hart to become the inaugural WWF European Champion. Oddly enough, there were actually only 2 European holders of this championship. British Bulldog, who's from England, I mean, it's in his name, and William Regal. And some of the biggest names in the history of WWE have held this title. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle. Some of the biggest names you've ever heard of have held this title. But most people looked at this title as just a little bit of a gimmick title, just a little, mid-card title, and no one really looked at it as being of prestige, of value. Most of the time when this title was defended or changed hands was either on a Raw or SmackDown, and it didn't feel like the biggest, accomplishment winning this. It was more of something where you could put a title around somebody's waist. And there was also a Eurocontinental Champion, which is basically someone that held the European Championship and the Intercontinental Championship at the same time. I know some people tried to make it a big deal back in the day from what I read. I think I was a little too young at the time to understand it, but it didn't really seem like a big deal from everything that you saw, reading up on the history of this belt. Which brings us to the modern day. Why do I think that bringing back this championship could be pretty good for the WWE? I have a pretty interesting theory on the way that they should bring back this title and how they should use it that would really bring the allure and prestige to this title. I'm going to get this right off the bat. I don't think that it has to be a European person that holds this belt, but I do think that this title should be on European shows. Now, what do I mean by that? The WWE over the past couple years has obviously made a massive plan to expand to Europe. We've seen shows all over Europe. We've seen shows in Asia. We saw shows in Australia. And I think that it should be a title that is literally used and defended outside of the WWE. For example, at Clash of the Castle in Scotland, we could have had whoever the champion was defend against somebody else to find out who the new or who still is a European champion. Now, the question you might be asking yourself is then what's the whole point of the title? Like, if they're not going to defend it in America, then does it really matter who the champion is? It does, because now it gives the European fans something to look forward to that only they have. It's something that it gives a little bit of prestige to going to their shows. Triple H loves talking about how high the gates have been for the shows in Europe. Triple H loves talking about how amazing the European crowd is. I know for a fact if we introduced a title that only the European crowd got to see defended in person, the just hype behind it would be levels unheard of. So how do we introduce this title? Bash in Berlin. Now, why do I think Bash in Berlin is the perfect spot? It is a PLE. We have some amazing European competitors that could literally be the inaugural competitors for this. And that is an event that we've already been told is a massively sold out event. We're told that the tickets were insane to get in, and we know the hype for this event is next level. Can you imagine an inaugural championship match at Bash in Berlin, whether they do a ladder match, whether they do a battle royale? I'm not a big fan of that idea. Whether they do a fatal 4-way or something where you have guys like Gunther, Ilya Dragunov, Ludwig Kaiser, Giovanni Vinci, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Finn Balor, any of those guys competing for that title as the new inaugural champion, how insane that match would be. European wrestlers are at the top of their game right now. We literally have some of the best wrestlers in the WWE that are from Europe. You got the Pete Dunnes, the Tyler Bates. It just doesn't stop. And the awesome thing about it is it's going to be a title that floats around only at certain shows. So there doesn't feel like you need to have storylines for it 24/7. Only when it's time for shows to come up do you build storylines around it. For example, if Ilya Dragunov ends up winning the title and they don't go back to Europe for about 4 months, you don't need to build any storylines around that title. He has storylines to go other places. But let's say there's a show coming up in England. What you'll do is you'll then have someone start a storyline with Ilya Dragunov for the title. It gives a lot of leeway when it comes to booking, and you know there's a guaranteed match every single time on the card to not worry about. Now, me personally, I always love title matches. I also love people having championship belts. I know a lot of people are like, oh, the less belts, the better. But with how stacked the current roster is, and how sometimes a show like Raw sometimes feels a little slow, I wouldn't mind that on the build-up to a PLE that's international, that we have another storyline that's guaranteed every single time. I also wouldn't mind if they use NXT stars to introduce them to the main roster doing that. I think it would be really cool to use these type of titles to start building up a lot of the younger talent that we have on the roster, especially because a lot of the younger talent is European. A lot of the younger talent are people that have not held singles titles, that aren't even competing for them in the current moment. Now, this is where I ask you guys, are you a fan of the idea of bringing back a European championship? Number one. Number two, who do you think should be the inaugural or first champion if they do bring back a European championship? And number three, what is your dream match to happen for the first match? Would you want to see a ladder match, a cage match, a Hell in a Cell, a battle royale, a hardcore match, a European street fight, or something along those lines? I want to know from your guys' opinions, what do you think they should do with it? And what is like your hype level for one to come back? I think with the current WWE European expansion, it's pretty obvious that they're going to be doing something really cool for the European audience every single time. And I think this is a really easy way to do it. So before I let you guys go, here is my opinion on how I think I would book this dream European matchup. I would love to see a ladder match where we have Gunther, Ilya Dragunov, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Pete Dunne, and Tyler Bate. And I would love for Pete Dunne to be the inaugural European champion. I think that he has a lot of potential of being a singles title holder, puts on great matches. And I know for a fact, because he was producing matches for the WWE recently, he would produce his own matches and put on absolute bangers with anyone that's willing to challenge him for the title. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys had a good time watching this. If you did, make sure you guys like. Make sure you comment and answer any of the questions that I asked you guys. And if you guys enjoyed the content that you saw on this channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. And you guys have any suggestions for future videos, make sure to drop it down in the comments below. I always read the comments. I try to reply to everyone. With that being said, I want to say I love you guys for watching all the way to the end. I appreciate you guys. Peace.